Hello and welcome to C3DNA product presentation. Today I'm going to be demonstrating cloud agnostic self-managing Adobe Experience Manager. Adobe Experience Manager, popularly known as AEM, is a comprehensive content management solution for building websites, mobile apps and forms. It makes it very easy to manage marketing content and digital assets. However, managing AEM environments is complex and cumbersome. This is most prevalent while their system upgrades are necessary on production environments. Also, there is cost and complexity when managing high degree of scale and fluctuations in workload and available resource pools during marketing campaigns and bursts. We at C3DNA have solved this problem, and I'm going to be showing you a live demo of Adobe Experience Manager Lifecycle Management to handle the high degree of scale and fluctuations in workloads, and also other tenets of lifecycle management. So I'm going to log into our service control plane, which is our single pane of glass, which gives me access to all my cloud resources in different clouds, and also the applications running on those clouds. In this case, the applications that I have running are only Adobe Experience Manager, but it is C3DNA powered, so you will see how easy it is for me to manage the Adobe Experience Manager in this environment. So before this, what we did is we did a default install of AEM in a machine which is 64.15.183.236, and what we deployed a piece of software what we call a C3DNA Scout, and that Scout essentially goes and discovers and profiles the applications running in this machine. So when I hit scan over here, I'm doing a real-time query to that agent to see what it has discovered, and it shows me there is an AEM instance running because this machine is actually only running AEM as an application. So our code, the Scout code, discovers and profiles the entire application and creates a manifest, and that manifest includes all the details about that application, AEM in this case, including the application binaries, the location dependencies, the connection strings, the config files, the data files, and other property files as applicable. And we prepare that environment to be moved or migrated or scaled to another environment in a cloud or two multiple clouds. So it is very easy. Once that is done, the Scout will profile everything, discover everything, and package it, and then I can hit replicate. Replication is very simple. There's a simple mode and advanced mode. In simple mode, you just need to provide the DNS name over here. Let's say I pick aem.customer1name.com, and then I can hit replicate, and it's going to essentially replicate the whole environment in the cloud resources that are available to me. Alternately, I can click on advanced mode, and now I get some more options like this checkbox which says whether it has to be exposed to the internet. If I check load balance, then we automatically stick a software definable load balancer in front of the Adobe workers or Adobe dispatchers as they say. And also, because I've been able to profile that application, we also know whether this application needs resources, whether it's a compute intensive and needs more computing resource, whether it is memory intensive or storage intensive or network intensive. Or alternately, I can just pick a platform of my choice. In this case, I have 4 platforms, 1, 2, 3, 4. 2 of them are in Azure and the other 2 are in CenturyLink. The definition of platform in C3DNA world is a virtual machine running a supported OS and a C3DNA cognitive plugin on top of that, which essentially enhances the applications that are running on that particular VM. Hence, we call it a platform. So I have 4 platforms available over here. I can just pick a platform and hit start replicate, but this is going to take about 20-25 minutes, so I did that ahead of time, and what you see over here is that application running in one VM replicated across 3 VMs. But what I did also is what other solution providers cannot do, at least today, is in flight I have the ability of discovering, profiling, optimizing, and splitting the workloads across multiple VMs if I want, which if you are used to, let's say, a virtual image machine motion, a vMotion, let's say from VMware, or a live migration, or the ability to export a virtual machine to an OVF format, open virtualization format, and import, you will see it's a one-to-one. That is, for every source machine you will get one target machine, and you cannot do anything. If it's a beefier or bulky machine over here, you get the same thing, and even the operating system obviously remains same because it's an identical copy of the VM, and then you have to struggle with networking and other things. Whereas in case of C3DNA, instead of doing a full forklift move or moving the plumbing, we only selectively move the things that are required for an application to work at the target location. So I was able to split that workload running of a single machine into 3 different virtual machines over here. And the reason I split them into 3 is because Adobe Experience Manager has got 3 roles: the author, the publisher, and the dispatcher. Hence I split it into 3, but we have the ability of mixing and matching. I could have done from 1 to 2 or 1 to 3 or sometimes 3 to 1 or 3 to 2. So that is real optimization. So in case if you want to, if you are over provisioned in the first case, and if you want to make sure that you have only optimal usage, then you can shrink that using C3DNA software, which is not possible using other software really. So let's do a demo of this AEM dispatcher, which is the worker load from where the websites are served. So what I have over here is I have created a website using AEM, and if I refresh this page, you're going to see that it's a pretty rich site. It's a shopping catalog where you can come and buy stuff, particularly men's, women's. If I click on women's, you can see I have a whole catalog of stuff available, and I can it's a e-commerce shopping site. And then if I have a sample page over here where I'm just displaying my logo, C3DNA Cognitive Adobe Experience Manager. So this page is served by PL003, which is in Microsoft Azure, and I'll show you how easy it is for me to migrate this live site from Azure to CenturyLink. And I'm going to migrate from PL003 to PL004, and if you notice, PL003 is running Ubuntu 14.04. I'm going to migrate to a machine running CentOS kernel 2632, right? So if I show you this tab PL004, and if I try to access the same page, I will get a page not found error, because obviously this content is not there on PL004 right now. Or in fact, I'm not even having a web server listen over there, so that's the reason it says can't establish a connection. So while this application is live in PL003 over here, I will just hit migrate, and I can migrate it to PL004. I hit confirm, and you will see momentarily this will get moved from PL003 to PL004, and then this website will become live, because I'm essentially spinning up all the associated components, which includes a web server. So you can see it migrated here. If I go here and I do try again, you will see that page will be served. The very same page which I had on PL003 is an actual website, the entire website. And this is also has its dependency and links to the publisher, because that's how AEM works. There's a relationship between an author and a publisher and dispatchers. So though I moved the dispatcher from Azure to CenturyLink and the author and publisher remain back, I still preserve the connection, so that if there are any updates to the publisher, they get propagated to the dispatcher. So now let's look at PL003. If I refresh here, it won't be able to connect, because I have moved it from PL003 to PL004. So that's an example of live migration. But this is something which I did to demonstrate how easy it is used to move workloads from one cloud to another. But we really have built a policy engine which allows us to do all these things automatically, and it also allows the end user to save on their computing resources by adapting the resources dynamically to the needs of the application. So let's look at an example of the policy engine. We allow the line of business owners, or the the product owners or the application owners, to come to this UI, and from here they can do a demo of, they can write policies to adapt the application and the underlying infrastructure whenever in the anticipation of certain peaks or demands, or if they have the game days coming. So you can come here and write an policy. So let's say I'm just writing a policy over here. I'm writing a policy on the workflow, and I'll pick a parameter. So our agents have the ability to monitor, configure, and control the workflows, and these are things that I'm monitoring. That we are monitoring, whether it's file system or disk or network or IOs or memory or buffer or swap, everything, IO waits, idle. This is on the system CPU and the resource side. But we also monitor all the aspects for an application runtime. For example, if you are running Apache, we know exactly what is the runtime, what is the response time. We know the accesses per second. We even know whether we got a 200 OK or a 404 or a 500. So all the codes, the access per second, response time, errors, everything we monitor. and anything we can monitor, we can configure and control. So let's say if I pick any parameter over here, let's say write on system networks, I do an add. So you can see I'm building a policy, write system network, I pick an operator and I pick a value. Let's say I picked a value of 0.1, which is kilobytes per second as a unit, and I add. So my rule is plain and simple. When this condition is met, I want to invoke this policy which I have written ahead of time, and this is very simple. If I do command line, you can see all the policies in the drop down. I made this available. So I click here, and then I save the policy. You can see I have defined an event. One last thing I have to do is I have to also define an action when that qualifying event happens, and this is something I could have done a week before, an hour before, or a month before. So let's look at the policy which I wrote. I wrote the policy AEM scale out to AWS. You can see writes per second greater than 0.1, and I'm going to be monitoring PL004 over here. So I update this. Now let's see what is the current load on PL004. So we also have built-in reporting mechanism which tells us in real time how the different elements or the components in the system are behaving. So since I'm looking at this particular parameter, let's look at writes per second over here. So you will see it's going to display me on a graph my writes per second happening on this particular platform. So you can see it's far from 0.1 at the moment. If I click on Cloud Console here, you will see this PL004 has got this many writes per second, but let's just increase the load on PL004. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just hit F5 multiple times to refresh this and to generate more load. And in my scale out policy, I have defined that when this condition is met, scale out to Amazon, and I had spun up a VM over there. Next in sequence was PL005, so I'm assuming it's going to spin up a PL006. So I want your attention on this side. Once I hit F5 a few times, you will see this graph change, and this qualifying event will happen, and automatically we will invoke the Amazon API, start spinning up a virtual machine in Amazon, and which should show up here as PL006 or 7. So you can see I generated enough load over here, and this graph is going to spike. So this is what we call as just-in-time IT instead of just-in-case IT, because I'm going to spin up the resource as and when required. So the policy dictated that when an event occurs, take that action, and that action was to spin up another virtual machine in a separate cloud. So now I have this application running in CenturyLink in Azure, and now you will see that very soon a new virtual machine will get spun up in Amazon, and it will automatically join this application cluster over here. And then you will see thereafter, this once the VM is up and running, then the application will get replicated over there. So depending on the time of the day and the region that I have picked, as well as the size of the VM, I can do it sometimes in 30 seconds, sometimes it takes me 2 or 3 or 5 minutes. So let's see. There you go. So you can see a virtual machine just showed up, it joined the tree, and now we have started replicating the content completely from PL004 on CenturyLink to Amazon PL006. And after that you will see, let me just prepare this tab and see if the content is there. here. There it is. And now if I hit PL006, you will see the same content is served from PL006 now. So I have the same thing replicated. So this is how easy it is to use C3DNA software to manage the AEM lifecycle. So we can write policies so that it automatically scales out. We can follow the sun, we can follow the moon, we can have policies based on different criteria. And this was an example of Adobe Experience Manager, but there are other popular web content management softwares as well, for example Sitecore, Liferay, and we can do the same thing for those software as well. So this concludes my demo on AEM. For more details, please visit our website www.c3dna.com. Thank you.